Hi everyone. We made a change to the invoice format this week and I've gotten a ton of questions about it. So this video is for both new users and long-term users. I just want to go over how to set up invoices, how to send them to your clients and kind of compare the old to the new. So originally from day one of Vacation CRM, we had an invoice that was a PDF format. So just to give you an example, this is an older invoice. This is the web version of the PDF, but you could certainly download it. And while a lot of users would download every single invoice, the downside to that is you need to, save it to your computer and keep them organized. And, it gets to be messy when you have 5 or 6 invoices per client per trip. And on top of that, the PDF had issues because as we made updates over the years, we kind of had to, I'll say, band-aid the PDFs to work properly. So there were issues here and there, especially with the pages. So when one page ends and another page begins, if you had an item with a lengthy comment on it, sometimes what it would do is it would leave the rest of the prior page blank in order to fit the entire component on the full next page. So you would end up with some situations where you'd have half or more of a page be blank right in the middle of the invoice just because it was trying to keep it cleaned up so it was readable between each page. Another issue we had with these was the formatting of your terms and conditions. I had a lot of users. I've spent countless hours helping users fix um, extreme amounts of spacing between certain things because there was hidden spacing in the template, which would then show up on the invoice. So the idea with the newer format, which is an HTML version, is to avoid all of that because an HTML version is just like a web page. So there are no actual physical pages like you'd have on a physical piece of paper. However, I've had a lot of users that are used to this and they're trying to convert these to PDFs, but I don't think it's necessary. So I'll kind of go over all of that today. So for starters, I've got a trip in here, and for those of you that are new, the invoice is built by adding the reservation details. So if I go into this reservation, you can see I've already taken the time to put in a booking or a reservation here. So you can see I've got flights in here. I put it all in order because that's the way it'll show up on the actual invoice. Put in my notes, all of that. And while you're working on this, the first thing I would recommend is when you feel like you've got everything entered on this screen and it looks good here, is just come up here and click Preview Invoice. And this will show you an example of what the invoice will look like if you were to generate it right now. So sometimes when you actually see the invoice, you can find things like you didn't finish typing this note. You're going to go back in, fix it, save it, preview it again. So preview first to make sure everything looks good, and we'll just pretend that I'm satisfied with this. And if I go back to the trip screen, you can do it from the reservation screen as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and click Generate Invoice because I'm satisfied with this version of the invoice. And every time you click Generate Invoice, it's going to attach another copy on the trip screen under the Trip Invoices section. So you can see I've clicked Generate 3 times on this particular trip. The idea here is you can have your original invoice and then generate a new one anytime you need to make a change or the client makes a payment, and now you've got a history of every version of it here. Now, what a lot of people have been doing is they'll go to View, and then there's this button to save as PDF because they're so used to attaching it to an email, like a physical attachment on the email to the client, but you really don't even need to do that. Now, this Save as PDF button is really designed for if you wanted to have a backup of the invoice stored to your computer locally. If you are planning on staying with Vacation CRM, there's really no need for that because they will always be stored under the client's trip. You can always access them as needed whenever you want. So they're never going to go away unless you delete them or cancel your account, in which we would obviously delete your account. But this button is also, when it converts an HTML format to a PDF, it's done by your browser. And some browsers are better than others at doing this. So I'm in Firefox right now, and although I prefer Firefox personally while using Vacation CRM for this aspect of it, I think Chrome does a lot better job at the conversion when you convert it to a PDF. So if I convert this, you can see that there's a little bit of it's a little bit blurry, and the text is kind of a funny font, and there's weird spacing, like a huge space in between first and last name of the agent here. Nothing is really uniform. There are HTML to PDF converters online that are available that do a better job than your browser. So if you must use a PDF, I would recommend trying out a couple of those online. Most of them are free conversions to find one that works best for you. But again, typically you don't even really need to do this. So the way you would send these invoices to the clients is with this email icon. Now if I go in here to settings and email templates, not auto email templates, I'll just open this in a new tab. The second option is for the invoice. So I don't really care for the wording used here, but you can make it your own. The main things you're going to want to leave is obviously the codes or the merge fields for like the client's first name, maybe your name at the bottom, but you definitely need this in here, something like this. You can change this verbiage here, but you need to have that merge field in there. That's what allows Vacation CRM to insert a link from the for the invoice into that email. So going back to this trip, if this were a real situation and I wanted to email the client an invoice after they make a payment or after they deposit or whatever it may be, all I need to do is just come up here and click this email icon, and it will open up in your preferred email program, which for me is Outlook, with an email ready to be sent to that client. So you can see it loaded exactly what was in the template, and I can just click on this as the client and I can view my invoice this way. And you don't have to worry about any issues with pages, because you can see this is all one big page, because it's like a website basically. Now if you for some reason cannot use these email icons, if you click it, if it doesn't do anything, typically that means you need to set your default email program on your computer. If you're on a PC, it's done in your control panel under default programs. If you're on a Mac, you go into the Apple Mail program and go to File, Preferences, and Default Email Reader. You can set it there. Now if you have a browser-based email like Gmail or Yahoo or something like that, it's typically a setting in your browser. And I have another video that explains more about how to do this, but if for some reason you can't use this or you don't want to use this, you can also take a generated invoice, click view, and you can just copy and paste this link here and send it to the client. Now another complaint I've had a lot of is people don't like to send a big long link like this. With almost any email program, you can either right click on it, or they'll have like a hyperlink button up here somewhere where you can edit it and you can change the text to display. So you could say like, and that will change it. It'll still be the same link, it'll just look nicer for the client. So give these a try, and like I said, I don't think it's necessary to convert to PDF. If you do, just know that it was originally designed just as a way to kind of back it up for yourself, not necessarily to send it to your clients that way. And that avoids having to save it. It avoids having to attach it to an email, and some clients that aren't very tech savvy might miss the attachment icon to click on to actually view it. When it's right there in the body though, with the HTML version, they can just click it and see it at any time. So have a look and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.